The first time I lost a car on the cameras, I almost didn't notice. It was a Tuesday, late October, about 1:58 in the morning. A dark sedan southbound on the interstate, four-door, the kind that looks like every other car at night except for one thing: a small chip in the rear passenger taillight that put a tiny white star in the red. The car passed mile 217, doing maybe 65. The next camera was at mile 222, 5 miles, 4.5 minutes at that speed. I was eating a lemon cookie and waiting for the taillight to show up at 222. It didn't. I scrolled the feed. I went frame by frame. Nothing. No sedan, no taillights, no anything. There's an exit at 219, rural county road, mostly used by farm trucks at dawn. And I figured fine, he took 219, who cares? I want to be honest about something. I sat there with that for maybe 10 seconds before I forgot about it. 10 seconds. That's the part I think about now, how fast I let it go. I'm going to try to tell you the rest of it in order, but I want you to remember that. How easy it is to look at something on those screens and just not see it. The job teaches you that, before it teaches you anything else. I worked overnights at a regional traffic operations center. 400 miles of interstate plus a few state routes and the long, lonely connectors that run through farmland between small cities. 900 cameras, give or take, depending on how many were broken on a given week. 3 of us at desks per shift. A supervisor named Garrett in a glass office in the back, who mostly answered emails from people he'd never meet. The room was nothing. Long, low, fluorescent lit. 3 rows of consoles. A coffee maker old enough to vote. A guy named Ruyil had been there 12 years and kept a framed photo of a dog on his desk that, 8 months in, he'd casually mentioned had died before he was hired. He kept the photo anyway. I never asked. The work was mostly nothing. You watched empty road, you acknowledged false alerts. A deer, a plastic bag, a shadow. You logged, you drank cold coffee, you went home at 6. I'm telling you this because the strange parts of the job lived inside the boring parts, and they only made sense if you understood how boring it actually was. The second time I lost the sedan was 3 weeks later, on a different highway, 140 miles east of where I'd seen it the first time. Same chip tail light, same little white star in the red. It passed mile 72, eastbound at 1:47 a.m. Mile 77 should have shown it at about 1:51. The camera was online. I watched it live. Nothing crossed the frame. I rewound the recording from 150 to 153. The sedan passed mile 77 at 1:46. I want you to read that again. The sedan passed mile 77 at 1:46. 1 minute before it passed mile 72. I sat with the 2 clips open side by side. I checked the timestamps 3 times. I checked the system clock against my phone. The cameras had been NTP synced 4 hours earlier and were within 100 milliseconds of each other. The car had reached the next camera before it left the previous one. I told myself it was a frame buffer error. The compression on those feeds is bad. Timestamps drift. I told myself a lot of things on the drive home. I made a sticky note. I wrote, Dark Sedan Chip TL 217-S 072-E 077-E timestamp wrong. I stuck it on the bottom of my monitor. The third sighting was on a connector road through farmland, eastbound, 2:24 a.m. The pavement at the camera was wet. A fine mist drifted through the IR illuminator. The sedan passed under the camera at maybe 50. The next camera, 12 minutes up the road, showed dry pavement. A state patrol cruiser parked on the shoulder. I cross-checked the patrol's log later. The trooper noted clear skies all night. 2 cameras, 6 miles apart. One was wet, one was dry. The sedan only appeared on the wet one. I added a line to the sticky note. By the 4th sighting, I'd stopped using sticky notes and started a text file. I want to skip to the part where I tried to talk to Rule about it, because that's where the shape of the thing started to change. It was past 3. Rule was doing his crossword in pen the way he did every shift. I waited until the radio went quiet. I said, "You ever notice the same car on cameras that aren't on the same road?" He didn't look up. "Sometimes." "Like same night?" He kept filling in his crossword. "You been logging it?" "A little." He turned a page. He said very quietly, without looking at me, "The road keeps a copy." Tuh. I waited for him to say something else. He didn't. He filled in 14 across. He took a sip of his coffee. After maybe a full minute, he added in the same flat tone, "Stop logging it." "Why?" "Because then it stops." "Stops what?" He looked up at me for the first time. His face was tired in a way I hadn't seen before. Not the regular night shift tired, something thinner. "Stops being yours." He went back to his crossword. I sat at my desk for the rest of the shift and didn't say anything else. I didn't stop logging. By mid-November, I had 31 entries. By Christmas, 58. The geography didn't make sense. The timing didn't make sense. One night, I caught the sedan at mile 184 northbound at 132 and at mile 303 southbound at 158, 190 miles apart in 26 minutes, on different highways going opposite directions. I started catching other things too. A sighting in early December where the sedan's headlights weren't reaching the road. The car was moving. The headlights were on. But the cone of light that should have been thrown ahead of it onto the asphalt. The cone every other car on those cameras throws, every night without exception, wasn't there. The sedan moved through its own dark. A sighting 2 weeks later where I noticed for the first time that I couldn't see anyone in the driver's seat. The interior wasn't visible enough on most cameras to tell, but this one was a low-mounted shoulder camera, angled almost into the windshield, and I could see the headrest, and the headrest was empty. There was no silhouette behind the wheel. The car moved at 63 miles an hour through the frame with no one driving it. I rewound that one 14 times. The 15th time, there was a silhouette, just a shape, hunched forward, the wrong proportions for a person. Too long in the neck or too short. I genuinely couldn't tell. The resolution wouldn't hold. The 16th time I rewound it, the silhouette was gone again. I closed the clip. I didn't open it again. Around then, I started having trouble at home. I'd come off shift at 6 and lie in bed with the blinds taped over and my brain wouldn't quiet. I'd close my eyes and see camera grids. I'd see the small white star in the taillight. I'd hear behind it a sound I couldn't quite place, something between the fluorescent hum and the tone the alert system made when an incident was detected. I started sleeping in 3-hour pieces. I'd wake at 2 in the afternoon convinced I'd missed a shift. I'd check my phone. I'd lie there with my heart going. I started checking the cameras at home, just to look. Our system had a remote viewer for supervisors that I shouldn't have been able to access from outside, but I'd watched Garrett type his password enough times to know it. I'd open the viewer at 1 in the morning, off the clock, and I'd flip through the feeds. I started doing that almost every night I wasn't working. I want to be clear that I knew I was doing something wrong. I knew it was unhealthy. I just couldn't make myself stop. The thought of the sedan being out there on a camera I wasn't watching, going somewhere I couldn't follow, made it impossible to lie still. I tried Joanna in the kitchenette. She was the easier one to talk to. I said, "Have you ever seen it?" She was microwaving a frozen meal. She watched the plate rotate. "You noticed it too?" "How long?" "Few years?" The microwave beeped. She didn't open it. "If you log it on paper. Garrett deletes things." "Why?" "Because they have to." "Have to what?" She opened the microwave. She took out the plate. The plate steamed. She didn't look at me. "You know, there used to be 4 of us on overnights." "Yeah." "There were 5 when I started." She walked out of the kitchenette. She didn't tell me the fifth person's name that night. She told me the next week at her desk in a voice so quiet I almost didn't catch it. She wrote it on a sticky note and slid it to me and watched me read it, and then took the sticky note back and folded it into her pocket. The name was Mercer. The name didn't mean anything to me at first. I asked about Mercer the way you ask about anyone you're trying to learn about without asking too directly. I checked the staff directory. There was no Mercer in the directory. I checked the archived shift logs. There were entries from a T. Mercer going back 6 years, the most recent of which was from about 14 months before I started. The most recent entry was incomplete. It started at 2200 and stopped at 0314. There was no end-of-shift sign-off, no clock-out. The next day's log started with a different operator and didn't mention Mercer at all. I asked Garrett casually what had happened to T. Mercer. He looked up from his email. His face did something quick that I think was supposed to be neutral but wasn't. Transferred? Where? I don't recall. Different region. Could I? Why are you asking? Just curious. He looked at me for a long time. Don't be. He went back to his email. I want to tell you that I dropped it. I didn't. I went home that morning and I opened the long-term archive, the one that retained 90 days of full footage and an indefinite archive of incident-flagged clips. I searched for incidents during T. Mercer's last shift. There was one. At 3:09 a.m. on the night his log cut off, there was a flagged incident on a state route in the southern part of our coverage area. The flag was for object stationary in lane, unidentified. I opened the clip. A dark sedan was parked across the center line of a 2-lane road in the middle of nowhere. Headlights off. Engine presumably running, although I couldn't hear that. The clip was 30 seconds long. The sedan was perfectly still. The taillight on the rear passenger side had a chip in it, a small white star in the red. The clip cut to black at the 30-second mark, the way archived incident clips always do. There was no follow-up footage. The flag had been resolved as vehicle departed. The reviewing operator's sign-off was a single initial. RD. R for rule. I want to slow down here because the next thing I'm going to tell you is the thing that broke me, and I want to get it right. The Wednesday after I found Mercer's clip, I caught the sedan on a camera I'd never seen it on before. Mile 408, eastbound, on a stretch of interstate that runs along the edge of a reservoir. 2:53 in the morning. The sedan didn't pass through the frame. It pulled onto the shoulder. It came to a complete stop. The taillight star glowed steady. The brake lights stayed on for about 10 seconds, then went off. The headlights stayed off. They had been off the whole time, although the car was moving. The timestamp in the corner of the feed flickered. 2:53:08, 2:53:07, 2:53:06. 3 seconds, counting backward. Then it caught itself, the way a watch catches itself after a stutter, and resumed forward. The sedan sat on the shoulder, perfectly still, facing forward, for the next 4 minutes and 11 seconds. In the 3rd minute, it turned its head. I want to be careful about what I'm saying. The car didn't turn. The sedan stayed pointed forward. But the rearview mirror inside the windshield, visible through the glass at that camera angle, which was angled high and slightly forward of the car, the rearview mirror moved, slowly, as if someone in the driver's seat had reached up and adjusted it. The angle of the mirror, after it stopped moving, was pointed up and to the right. It was pointed at the camera. I sat in my chair. The fluorescence hummed. The HVAC ran. The room did its room things. None of it registered. The mirror held its angle for 46 seconds. Then it tilted slowly back to a normal position. Then the brake lights came on. Then the sedan pulled off the shoulder, accelerated, and left the frame eastbound. I checked the next camera. Of course it wasn't there. I went to check the recording of the next camera to see if it would show up in the rewind the way these things sometimes did. I never got to. Because in the bottom right corner of the original clip, the one of the sedan on the shoulder, I noticed, in the last 3 seconds just before the car pulled away, a reflection in the side mirror of the sedan. The side mirror was angled the way side mirrors are angled. It caught a small slice of the world behind the car, mostly road, mostly dark. In the slice, just visible at the edge of the reflection, was a face. Not a face in the car. The reflection was angled outward, away from the cabin. The face was outside the car, behind it, at the edge of the camera's IR field. The face was looking at the camera. The face was mine. I want you to know that I didn't believe it. I want you to know that. I didn't sit there and accept it. I rewound it. I zoomed in until the resolution gave up and turned the face into pixels. I told myself it could be anyone. I told myself faces in low resolution all look the same. I told myself I was tired, that I'd been logging for months, that of course my brain was going to start finding me in the footage. I went home. I slept badly. I came back the next night and I checked Joanna's desk before she came in. She kept a small spiral notebook in her drawer. I'd seen her write in it. I shouldn't have, but I opened it. The notebook had 3 pages of dates and times, locations, mile markers. The most recent entry from about a week earlier said, M-408-E253, shoulder, 4 minutes 11 seconds, mirror tilt, saw name, inside mirror reflection. He doesn't know yet. The name was mine. She'd seen me in the footage a week before I'd seen myself in it. I confronted Joanna the night I found the notebook. I waited until Ruel was in the bathroom. I sat down at her desk. I put the notebook in front of her. I opened it to the page. She didn't deny it. She didn't apologize. She closed the notebook and slid it back into her drawer. I'm sorry. How long? About a week? Why didn't you tell me? She looked at me. Her eyes were wet. I'd never seen her cry. I didn't see her cry then either, exactly. The wetness just sat there, didn't fall. Because telling you doesn't change it. Joanna, what does that mean? She said it fast, like she was getting it out before she could take it back. Mercer told me, the week before he stopped coming in. I saw him on the cameras 2 nights before that. He saw himself the night after. Then he was gone. Ruel was the one who logged the incident. Ruel always logs the incident. That's why he's still here. What? What do you mean still here? He found his footage 12 years ago. He stopped looking. He hasn't found new footage since. She turned back to her monitors. If you stop looking, you can stay. She didn't speak to me again that night. I tried to stop looking. I really did. I want you to know that. I want you to know I sat at my desk the next shift, and I did not flip through the cameras. I did not check the next camera after a sedan sighting. I did not rewind. I did not log. I did the basic acknowledgments. I took the radio calls, I drank the coffee, I worked. For 3 nights I worked. On the 4th night at 2:53 a.m., I looked. I'm not proud of it. I just couldn't help it. I told myself I'd just glance at mile 408 to confirm the sedan wasn't there. That was all, 1 glance. The sedan was there. It was on the shoulder. It was pointed forward. The mirror was already angled up and to the right. It was looking at the camera, which meant, the way I had to think about it now, that it was looking at me. I sat in my chair and I didn't move. After 4 minutes and 11 seconds, the mirror tilted back. The brake lights came on. The sedan pulled away. In the side mirror reflection, in the last 3 seconds, there was a face. The face was not mine this time. The face belonged to Petar. Petar was the rotating third on shift that night. He was at his desk 12 feet from mine. He was wearing the same pair of cheap over-ear headphones he always wore, and the same hooded sweatshirt, and his face had the same expression. Careful, slightly distant, slightly tired, that it had on the camera. I looked at the camera feed. I looked at Petar. I looked at the camera feed. In the reflection, Petar was looking at the camera. In the room, Petar was looking at his monitor. I did not say anything. I did not warn him. I want to tell you that I waited, that I considered, that I tried to figure out the right thing to do, and I did not. I sat there. I let it pass. The clip ended. The shoulder was empty. The sedan was gone. I want to be honest with you. The reason I didn't say anything is that Joanna's words were running in my head on a loop. If you stop looking, you can stay. If I told Petar what I'd seen, I had to keep looking. I had to find the next footage and the next and the next, and at some point, soon, probably the way it had gone for Mercer, I would find footage of me again. And after that, there would be no more footage of me ever. I sat at my desk, and I did not warn him. Petar finished his shift. He clocked out. He drove home. He did not come in for his next shift, or the one after that. He did not respond to messages. After 2 weeks, his name was quietly removed from the rotation. Garrett mentioned in passing that Petar had decided to focus on school. What? I did not ask any follow-up questions. The night Petar didn't come in, Reuel worked beside me without speaking. He did his crossword in pen. He did not look at the monitor for the eastbound state route, not once. He had it open on his second screen the way he always did, and his eyes never went to it. Around 4, he set a fresh coffee on my desk without being asked. He didn't say anything. He went back to his crossword. When I got up to leave at 6, he said without looking up, "Don't pull the old tapes." I said, "How did you?" He said, "Everyone does." He turned a page in his crossword book. He said, "I did." That was all. He didn't look up. I left. I pulled the old tapes anyway. After Petar, I started looking at the archive the way you'd look at scripture. I asked the IT contractor, a kid who came in twice a month and would do almost anything for a coffee gift card, if there was an older archive somewhere, anything that predated the current system. He said there was a tape backup in a closet in the server room, stuff from before 2010. He didn't know if any of it played anymore. He gave me the closet code. I spent 4 shifts pulling tapes during slow stretches and dumping them onto a hard drive at my desk. The footage was rough, black and white mostly, lower frame rate. Some of the cameras were in different positions back then. I searched for the chip in the taillight. I found it in 2007. I found it in 1999. I found it. And this is the part I keep coming back to. In 1994, on a tape from a camera at a mile marker that no longer has a camera, on a section of road that was decommissioned in 1996. The sedan passed under that camera at 2:53 a.m. The next camera north showed the road empty. The sedan with the chip in the taillight has been on our cameras for at least 32 years. I tried to find Mercer in the older footage. I didn't find his face. I found his car, a hatchback he'd driven before he disappeared, on a 2018 clip. It pulled onto the shoulder at mile 408, sat there 4 minutes and 11 seconds. The mirror tilted. In the side mirror reflection, in the last 3 seconds, was a face I didn't recognize. The staff records matched it to a woman named Aldine, overnights 2014 to 2017, transferred. The operator before her was in 2014 footage in a different car. I stopped looking after that, not because there wasn't more to find, because there was a pattern, and I didn't want to keep counting it. The job wasn't watching the road. The job was the chain. Operators saw their predecessors on the cameras, were seen by their successors, stopped coming in, were quietly transferred. New ones replaced them. The sedan was just the part of it that was visible. I'd like to tell you that I've quit. I haven't. Not officially. I'm on a leave that I haven't formally requested. Garrett has not called me. Rule has not called me. Joanna has not called me. The schedule still has me on for next Tuesday. I don't know if I'll go. I think about a lot of things. I think about Rule saying, "The road keeps a copy." I think he meant it more literally than I understood at the time. I think the cameras are the copy. I think every car that passes a camera leaves something in the camera that the camera eventually gives back. Most of the time, the giving back is small, a flicker, a frame drop, a timestamp wrong by a second. Most of us never notice. But sometimes, for reasons I do not understand and do not want to, the cameras give back a whole car. Whole. With everything still in it. I think Mercer is in the cameras. I think Aldine is in the cameras. I think the operator before her and the operator before him and someone in 1994 whose face I never saw are all in the cameras. I think Petter is in the cameras now. I think I will be in the cameras soon. I want to tell you the iconic thing now, the thing I keep saying to myself in the kitchen at 4 in the afternoon when I can't sleep. The thing I think Rule was trying to tell me without saying it. It isn't the road keeps a copy. That's only half of it. The other half is this. The road keeps a copy of every driver who ever notices it keeping a copy. That's the rule. That's the only rule. Look once and the camera sees you. Look twice and the camera remembers you. Look long enough. Log it, rewind it, sit at your desk and watch the next camera for the car that won't arrive, and the camera takes a copy of you and puts it on the shoulder at mile 408 at 2:53 in the morning and waits for the next operator to find it. The sedan never reaches the next exit because it isn't going anywhere. It's parked. It has been parked on the shoulder of mile 408 for at least 32 years. What moves between cameras isn't the sedan. What moves between cameras is us. Everyone who has ever sat in a fluorescent-lit room and watched the road, looking for the thing that didn't make sense. The sedan was waiting for me before I started. It will be waiting for whoever takes my desk after I stop coming in. I'm going to stop writing this now. I've been at it for about 4 hours and the sun is up and I should sleep. One last thing. I drove past a camera last night, state route, about 20 miles from my apartment, on my way back from a gas station. I didn't think about it. You don't think about cameras when you drive past them. There are too many. They're part of the road. When I got home, I sat in the car for a while in my parking spot. The dome light was off, the dashboard was off, just the street light outside throwing a thin orange wash across the windshield. I looked in my rearview mirror. The mirror was angled up and to the right. I had not adjusted it. I sat in the car for a long time looking at that mirror. Eventually, I reached up and tilted it back. I went inside. I locked the door. I closed the blinds. I poured a glass of water and I stood at the kitchen sink and I drank it. When I went back out to the car this morning, to come to the coffee shop where I'm typing this, the rearview mirror was angled up and to the right again. I am not going to adjust it this time. I am going to leave it where it is. I want whoever sees the footage on whatever camera I drive past tonight to be able to look at me clearly. I want them to recognize my face. I want them to know, when they see it, what it means. The road keeps a copy. Most nights, it lets you go.